Welcome everybody to Rad Pod and Chill, the Thanksgiving Gratitude Edition. I'm doing my nails extra fancy for you. They're kind of sparkly and turkey-like. Hi, you guys.
Hello.
How the hell are your nails like turkeys? Are they feathered? What?
No,
turquoise, turkey.
No,
see?
I used a copper color underneath, and then I'm putting red sparkles on top. So it's kind of got like a turkey vibe.
I thought it was because it was turquoise.
No,
it was turquoisey.
No, see the copper plus
That's
the
not
sparkles on this
turquoise
one?
at all.
No, I was wearing turquoise sparkles though yesterday. It's funny you should mention that. I am really proud of my nail polish collection. And I'm not going to lie. Every time I get a 40% off coupon from CVS, I get another nail polish. So I have the bomb ass collection right now. But that's not why we're here. We have a lot to talk about. I want to start with what I'm grateful for, but apparently Jim does not. So we'll start.
I did that yesterday.
You did? Did you have to sit around the table and do it?
Yes.
How'd it go?
I was forced to say be thankful for things.
How did that
go? I allow that once a year.
You wouldn't want
better be grateful for me.
You wouldn't want it to interfere with your surly bastardness the rest of the time, right?
It's not on brand for me, Heidi. It's not on brand.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand. So, I happen to know you as a fine
You're so
chap.
full of shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's not give it away. Let's not give away what a kind person he is. So yeah, I'm so grateful for so many things. I'm grateful that Hi-Fi has muted himself, so I don't have to listen to him gagging.
I'm grateful for the mute button.
Yeah, so I'm definitely grateful for the mute button. I'm grateful because, can I just tell you guys quickly about my Thanksgiving before we talk about some things people are probably more interested in?
Sure.
Okay, so Wednesday night I was supposed to be writing, but instead I got wrangled into doing a lot of cooking. So I baked Yorkshire pudding, which was amazing. And then I created my own vegan sweet potatoes recipe, which was amazing. And it was just like an accident of fantasticness, actually.
Sweet potatoes don't need, they're the most underrated whatever they are in the world. You don't need anything on sweet potatoes at all.
Well, my sweet potatoes were mashed and blended, mashed by hand, and then I used a little blend tech action. And they had coconut milk, and I put a little bit of maple syrup in there and some Vietnamese cinnamon from Penzies and one or two other things that I'm forgetting right now. And they were just amazing. It just was like, what? Yeah, so it was really good.
I like to take them out of the oven and then just eat them.
They're delicious that way too. Oh, you know what else I did? As I was peeling them in order to get them mashed, I realized how great the skin tasted after baking them. So then I baked potato skin chips with some more Penzies Revolution. I keep saying Penzies because Penzies is amazing spices and I have a whole collection of it. And also the person who owns Penzies hates Trump so much that when the election of 2016 came down, he started a blog and it was all like, hate Trump. He rechanged all the names of his spices to like revolution, love, fuck Trump type stuff. And so please, if you can, support Penzies because
Did he get rid of like all the orange spices, like paprika? We're boycotting paprika until this fucking bastard gets out.
No, we didn't. But yeah, I love business owners who were part of the real, genuine resistance, and Penzies did a lot of good during that time. Anyway, so that was really good.
Hold on. I have to address something here.
Yes.
As a person who has lived in both the South and the Midwest, you California people and how you are bastardizing sweet potatoes. Butter, brown sugar, marshmallows, and bake those.
Jesus Christ.
That's how you do sweet potatoes.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. I had some with marshmallows yesterday.
Oh, you probably put like ham and Jello with marshmallows and like.
No, man. No.
Like,
None of that.
like you make.
No, we don't do Jello salads and no.
You don't need any of that shit. Butter, maybe.
I'm getting to the punchline. I don't know. I think I'm going to spend the whole episode trying to get to the punchline.
Yeah, Timothy's over here in the comments. Brown sugar 100. That's right, Timothy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brown sugar. All right.
So I started the Substack, as you know, and 2 weeks in, it's going gangbusters. And for my paid subscribers, I shared my world famous crabby mushroom, my world famous stuffed crabby mushrooms recipe, which I learned when I was like 20 years old. And I made a grip of them because yesterday morning at 8 a.m., I got up and I fed all of these folks, like hundreds of people, and it was so much fun. And then I went to my friend's party, who is, she's Hollywood royalty herself and has a famous, wonderful family that she's from. And like, you know me, I'm a cinephile, and my whole thing is like really old Hollywood or French New Wave. And I got to sit in this house feeding everybody feeding me, looking around, feeling like so grateful and joyful, because quite frankly, we kind of create our own families at some point. And so I've created my own family, and it felt really, really good. And my kids were off doing their things in various parts of the country. So that was my Thanksgiving. I was very grateful for good food and no pain.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We were all politically aligned around the table. Nobody was related by blood. You know, we're all kind of various types of industry creatives. So we love art and history and books and films. And so it was a very robust conversation. So how about you guys?
It sounds almost normal.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah. I mean, I had all three of my boys at home, which is unusual these days because they're all over the goddamn place and they all have girls and things to do and whatnot. But they all managed to come to the house, and we had a Thanksgiving, and I cooked a turkey. I think it was number 30 or something like that in a row.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty much always a thing.
Yeah.
And I am, after 30 years, finally getting pretty goddamn good at gravy.
Ooh, excellent.
My gravy is pretty goddamn spectacular, I have to say. It's about this. I can grill steaks, and I can make gravy. That's about it.
That sounds good.
That's all you really need.
That sounds great.
I mean, you put some gravy on your steak and you're fucking golden.
Yeah. And what
that was that.
Good. Hi-Fi and Z, what'd you do?
Made Brussels sprouts and pureed parsnips, and we ate some duck. Hung out
But
with my brothers and the kids.
He was doing food porn on Mastodon all day.
It was fun.
That's true though. All day long is like, I'm boiling my parsnips with my pancetta.
Look.
Finally, I had to jump in there and be like, "There's bugs in your potatoes."
Look, if there's one thing I can teach my children and teach other people
manners,
how to cook good food. Fuck no, but
That's hilarious.
but how to cook good food. Because I find being able to cook is an excellent way to woo paramours. So
Yes.
so
That,
Hi-Fi's got this big reputation for all this shit, but he sings opera, he
yeah.
cooks
Plays
like
the cello.
Julius Child, and he
Yeah.
uses words like paramour. For fuck's
Uh-huh.
sake, what
I
are
know.
you?
I know. He's a Renaissance man, is what he is. A
I'm a
Renaissance
well-read
troll.
hillbilly.
I'm a big mean troll from something awful. Look at my parsnips.
He's a Renaissance troll. Come on. That's exactly how you define him. No, I think it's great to be multifaceted. You can totally, fight fascism and cook parsnips. There's nothing wrong with that. Speaking of which, my world famous crabby mushrooms recipe was born out of the fact that wit can only get you so far. At some point, you have to feed your boyfriends, right? And I found this recipe in the 80s on a bottle of Grey
I
Poupon.
rarely had to feed my boyfriend.
And
a few times, in the 80s when I got experimental. But...
Right on. It was the 80s. I was at a club a few months ago and someone came up to me and he said, "Did we in the 80s?" And I said, "I don't think so. I think I would have remembered."
What a line, man.
No, the correct answer is, well, if we did, I don't remember you, which says everything I need to know.
No, I thought it was a great line. Didn't we? I'm just going to say it. Didn't we fuck in the 80s? No, that didn't happen. The 90s was a whole other thing, though.
I don't remember the 90s, so that could have anything could have happened.
Anything could have happened in the 90s. I'm actually the great thing about Twitter becoming a terrible hellscape, as Jim predicted, is it did force me to launch a Substack, and part of what I'm going to do with it is share a lot of stories from the 90s when I was Hollywood's nightclub writer, because I kept everyone's secrets. I had a column and I could only print certain things. All the other things I kept as secrets, and enough time has passed and some people have gone on to the nightclub in the sky, so I can start to tell some of these stories. So I'm very excited.
So what you're saying is you're opening a Hollywood secrets rag on Substack.
Hell yes, awesome. I am. And what's
Are
great
we doing
is that,
all? Oh my God.
No, you know what? The way I do it,
it's gonna be awesome.
You know the way I do it with a lot of heart. You know what I mean? So I don't think I'm going to piss anybody off. And most of these people are still my friends. And some of the debauch stuff, like a lot of us are sober, so it's kind of okay to tell the story. By the way, 20 years without alcohol, December 2nd, me celebrating 20 years without alcohol, December 2nd. I'm really excited about that. That's a big one.
That is a big one.
It's huge. Anyway,
the audience is asking for your Substack link.
Oh God, thanks guys. Heidi Kuda, Betty Dangerous. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
What does that mean, Heidi Kuda, Betty Dangerous?
Well, Heidi Kuda is how you find me on Substack. Betty Dangerous is the name.
So it's HeidiKuda.substack.com.
I think so, yeah. I don't know. It's also new.
You should know that.
Okay. I think it's Heidi Kuda. Whatever Jim just said.
That's what it is. All one word, Heidi Kuda.
So you guys know that Betty Davis is tattooed on my forearm right here, right? And that's because when I first left corporate world, I was very, very scared because I thought, I'd never work again or whatever. And I was writing screenplays at the time, and I thought it was super important to know Hollywood history. I discovered all the films of Betty Davis, and she is one righteous bitch. And she really gave me the courage to just fearlessly pursue the things I want to pursue. And so I called it Betty Dangerous because she was robbed of her first Oscar because she was loaned out. And her first Oscar should have been for a film called Of Human Bondage, where she played the first volatile bitch on screen, like totally crazy in a Somerset Maugham film. But the point is that she didn't win the Oscar until the next film, which was Dangerous, where she plays Shakespeare drunk, and it's amazing. So Betty Dangerous. That's my story. But I do want to talk about Jack Smith working on Thanksgiving, because I think that's really cool. You guys probably know about that.
Hard charger, that man.
I know, right? There's all these ops on Twitter.
That.
There's all these ops on Twitter going, oh, of course Garland put him in charge because he's like laid up in the Netherlands and he's not going to do anything. And these are people who massage people's brains into thinking that they were part of the resistance, and they're clearly just ops setting everybody up. And I was happy to see that. So
I'm surprised at the number of ops that have wandered over to Mastodon.
You're surprised? Why would you be surprised by that? I mean, that was
what on earth would surprise you about that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a couple of them. Like,
what do the ops look for? The ops are looking for libs, right? That's what they do. They find libs. It's seek and destroy. And where are all the libs now? So, everybody get...
Well, as pleasant as Mastodon is, I'm going to guess on Mastodon.
Let me give a brief on Mastodon. The Mastodon is not nearly as easily weaponizable as Twitter for a variety of reasons. People get mad because there's no quote tweet, but it's the best thing that ever happened.
Love that. Yeah.
The quote tweet is really a whole bunch of things all bundled together. It's a reply and a comment, and it basically designed to sick people on other people's content while you get to sort of remain above them. And it's actually turns out to be really unhelpful. The lack of algorithms is the main thing. You write something and it goes in the queue with everybody else's, in your server, and it goes to your followers. So if you have a bigger audience, it matters. But anybody who writes something gets the same chance to be seen by, sort of where they are as anyone else. And it leads to a much more meritocratic system where people tend to, boost things that they like and that matter to them rather than whatever everybody else is retweeting because it's trending or whatever the fuck. So that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be trolls. I've already gotten a bunch of them. But it's a one-time thing. They show up and they reply, and you laugh or block or whatever if they're bad, and that's it. It's because they can't. They don't. The main thing, the other thing for trolling is they can't search you out. So my thing was they would just fucking search my name literally every single time it was mentioned anywhere on Twitter. It would just like I'm Jim is whatever the fuck they had to say.
Jim is unwell.
Jim is
unwell.
He's mean.
So, I need to jump in.
Whatever.
That's crazy. He's gonna hurt people.
I've got people in the basement. He's got people in the basement.
He's got weapons. He's got weapons stashed away.
But
it's all whatever. Listen,
these people.
So it's just a different thing. Like tweeting for me was always this sort of mathematical game in my head about all right, if I there's this number of retweets, but if I hit it at this particular time and it gets this wave of it was like fucking I just want to write something, and if people like that, then they'll share it with other people. Like that's fine with me, because I don't need people's fake, inauthentic bullshit to, boost what I have to say or to silence what I have to say. And thank you for coming to my Mastodon TED Talk.
Jim. You know how I block I've got a really fast block finger and have for a long time, which is why Twitter is still relatively tolerable for me at the moment, because I block everybody. I don't want to see anyone's shit. If you look sideways, give me the hairy eyeball. I don't know you. Comments weird. Done, 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 right? People still feel a need to send me screenshots of what people say about you. And I've explained to them, I don't want to see these screenshots. It's designed to cause trauma to both Jim and, and to his friends. And so stop with the bullshit. I don't know who these people are. I don't give a fuck anymore. You want to know anything, go to Jim. They always come through me because they're kind of like they know how to get to you, but they're trying to get to me. So one thing I will say, though, is that there are some motherfuckers on this planet and on that platform who are scared to death of you coming back because they're already creating drama. They're already like, oh, if Jim comes back, there's going to be receipts. Oh my God. And it's like, yeah, motherfucker, there's going to be receipts. All those tweets you wiped. Yeah, they're still going to be there because we got them all. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're mad because I've been just fucking taking pictures of them for the last year. It's like,
I know.
Okay,
I know.
keep going.
I know.
So,
I know.
So look, here's the thing. There is about a 10% chance that they accidentally let me back on. Maybe 10%. I got flagged by all the way to the top. So I very much doubt I'm going to be coming back. But if I do, it won't be long. But if I do, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun. It'd be so fun.
What are the chances to
honestly,
let me
mostly what I'll do,
one of mine back on?
Mostly what I'm going to do is point people to Substack and to Mastodon and to YouTube and everything else.
Right.
Fuck Twitter. Places. What? So let's talk for a second about something actual that happened, which is he's going to allow all the suspended accounts, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is he's saying, well, you're mad because all the right-wing accounts are the ones that were suspended. Well, first of all, that ain't true. Second of all, actually, yeah, because the right wing is where the radicalization and the incitement to violence happens 99% of the time.
Right.
And so, yeah, that is a huge concern because you're going to have fucking microchip and sticky and all the worst fucking garbage accounts on earth back on the platform. And, for some of us, it might be kind of entertaining to watch in a very nihilistic kind of a way. But in reality, what's going to be happening is a whole bunch of neo-Nazis hate, just the worst dregs on earth. They're going to just come rushing back into the platform with leaders like Nick Fuentes, who's already just got all his groupers all lined up. They're all hopping back to Twitter, like all super stoked, getting ready to just own libs all fucking day long. So.
One thing I was thinking One thing I was thinking as you were saying this, Jim, is that it appears to me that they must all be friends with Musk or Musk's friends or whoever's running the operation, because they probably couldn't really get paid very well or as much when they were off Twitter. So it's probably not just for stochastic terrorism and communication disruptions. It's literally like, hey, bro, you're going to get paid again. Get to go back there and radicalize people.
Yeah, you get to. Shit. I mean, it's the actors can the people can do it. They can go back to Twitter, right? It's these accounts that they built up, right?
Yeah.
And up until through 2017 to 2020, and some of these got to be massive fucking accounts, that can, that had hundreds of thousands, millions of followers.
Right.
And they're just going to go right back to brainwashing. But here's the thing. It's not going right back to brainwashing. It's going right back after 2 years of Telegram.
Yeah. God.
So remember what happened.
Such a chill. You gave me such a joke.
January 8th, 2 days after the insurrection, Twitter found the off button for QAnon, right? Which tells you one thing. They had an off button for QAnon the entire time, because immediately they just shut the whole fucking thing off, and it was like, oh, there's no QAnon anymore. And they all went to fucking Telegram, and they mixed up with all the neo-Nazis and the Russians who are hanging out on Telegram. Because that's a lot of the people who were on Telegram before January 8th, 2021.
So amazing.
And there weren't actually very many people in the US, a few million. And then over the last few years, 70, 80 million people in the United States went to Telegram. And nearly 100% of them are using it to be in a cult, to be in one of any number of cults, from the squishiest woo-woo yoga fucking cult all the way to straight, as hardcore skull-faced Nazi motherfuckers as you can find on Earth. You can find them on Telegram.
And you saw
a whole 9 yards, all the way up and down the spectrum, but all with the same underlying crypto-fascist intention, which is to cause instability in global liberal democracies around the world, especially in the United States of America. Telegram needs to be shut down. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yes. High five. Because I have something I want to say. You want to say something first?
No, go ahead, Heidi.
Somebody named Linda is always telling me to shut up on YouTube. And it's like, start your own show, Linda. So, Jim, one obvious side effect is the war in Ukraine and the desire to turn people away from Ukrainians. So that is very clear from all the things that you're describing. So there is a very direct, obvious one aspect result. I think you might be muted, or I don't know if you're talking or not. Yeah, boomer.
It's Kremlin propaganda.
Yeah, okay. So that's one thing. That's right.
So the Kremlin, I want to point one thing out. The Kremlin put out a new law saying there cannot be any more LGBT propaganda for adults.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the fucking Kremlin said.
Right.
And what is Twitter saying? What is the right wing saying? Literally the same memes. The trans propaganda, it's the same shit.
Right.
And it's coming from the same place. Sorry, Heidi, please go.
No, that's exactly where I was going with this. And the other place I was going is that, and this is something I'm going to be talking about because this is a reality of life now, people are going to have to start paying for independent investigative journalism, because the alternative is that places like this don't exist. And I bring that up because right now we still are able to think and produce and speak truth to power. I don't know how long it's going to last, but right now we can do it. And I would recommend people support it. I know that I support it in my small way. But my point is that we had Zarina Zabriskie on. So our show and others like us are the antidote to the propaganda that Jim is talking about. So I don't know if we have any of Zarina's clips, but I think it'd be really important to show what's really happening in Ukraine. And here is an investigative reporter who has been reporting from all the various frontline locations. And she also is reporting without power, without hot water. Most of the time she has to go try to find some place that miraculously has like power and a generator and a place where she can plug in her phone to do her work. And so I would like people to know that the realities of war and what she's bringing to us, the realities of the torture chambers, everything that's happening, you need to be on the side of liberal democracies and not on the side of the, state terrorism, country of Russia.
Yeah, I mean, they don't
in Ukraine by arranging these massive airstrikes using missiles. Now they're going to get more from Iran. So what we need here to protect Ukrainian people, to protect their energy system, is the solid air defense. We need to close the sky. And today I saw some good sign, too early to say anything, but there's some negotiations going on already about the joint protection for the sky. But Heidi, you probably know, I kept speaking about it from day one. This is what needs to be done, because if we close the sky over Ukraine, guess what? Russia cannot proceed anymore. They are useless on the ground. They're being kicked out. Just close the goddamn. Can I curse?
Yes.
Just close the fucking sky. Close it, and this is it. That will be the end of it. And it doesn't take a military analytic or political analyst or a critic. It just, like, anyone, I don't know, my dog, if I had one, would be able to tell you. Close the sky, and this is it. They can't damage the electricity. They can't damage the gas resources, which they were doing this week, and they are out.
Episode 50 of Radicalized Pod, guys. Watch it with Zarina Zaprisky. She's going to tell you the straight truth about those punk asses in Russia.
It's tough. They've been calling for a no-fly zone since the beginning, right? The problem is, if a Russian aircraft flies over Ukraine, what do we do about that if we have a no-fly zone? Do we engage with the Russian aircraft? And I mean, according to Zarina, fuck yeah, we would. And I think that is a perfectly valid point of view, but it's not quite as simple as, just roll in the anti-aircraft and everything will stop falling to the ground. You got to get up there with aircraft if you really want to do no fly. But
well,
it may be time to fucking. I mean, look, I've been saying it for a long time. It's not going to stop. He will not stop. He's not going to stop doing what he's doing. He may do a strategic pullback because he has no choice, like he did in Kherson, as Zarina was telling us. But he's not going to stop trying to take over Ukraine. He's not going to try and stop taking over Europe and Asia, because he is a totalist, brainwashed cult leader and a genocidal maniac, and he has to get taken out by somebody, either his own people or somebody else. But he's just going to keep fucking doing it. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And unless the goddamn United States of America, unless the government of the United States, the military of the United States does something about all this goddamn brainwashing going on, we're going down too. And if you're gonna, by the way, let me just mention one motherfucking thing. Found out because of OSINT Ninja Gal Suburban, fucking Fort Bragg was invited Tulsi Gabbard to speak to the Psychological Warfare College at Fort Bragg, the head of Army PSYOP, where guess who was stationed for 25 fucking years? Mike Flynn and Michael Aquino and all the other crazy ass PSYOPs motherfuckers that keep joining up with Flynn and his army of insurgents. Also, in case you missed it, I did a whole bunch of Army active military are getting murdered at Fort Bragg over the last couple of years. Check it out. It's like in crazy weird ways. What's that? It's not shocking in a way, but look, it's fucked up. What in the hell is Tulsi Gabbard doing talking to PSYOPs students?
Well, unfortunately,
who made that decision?
She's
literally a criminal
asset.
She's a cult member.
She's a lieutenant colonel in the reserves.
I understand that. And she's a goddamn cult member.
Yes.
and
yes, I'm not.
And a Kremlin asset, like the worst,
also,
one of the most obvious Russian assets on Earth, next to like Rohrabacher.
Unfortunately,
okay, hey, spoiler alert. No, my turn. My turn. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. One of the ways that the prosecutor Rogi got people in trouble from the 1940 Nazi propaganda plot. Spoilers for Rachel Maddow's Ultra podcast. But they were messing with the United States military. They were infiltrating the ranks of the military. This is a massive national security threat. I hope Jack Smith sees that and acts accordingly. I mean, the documents are just the tip of the fucking iceberg here, kids.
So the problem is, and Jim is well aware of this, as are you, Hi-Fi, that these things that are so obvious to us are having real world impacts on the brains of perfectly nice people. Because I spent the year having conversations with perfectly nice people who would say things like, it's time for a woman president. I vote for, Tulsi Gabbard. Perfectly nice conversation. Then somebody says, I would like a Russian asset to be our president. This person doesn't know that. They're just watching Fox or Tucker Carlson or wherever they're getting their information from. So that's one thing. And did you see Nazi Karen at CTAC? Did you guys see the video of the guy at CTAC who was ultimately taken down, a Nazi doing Sieg Heil moves? This is in the last day or two. He was clearly somebody who is lurking on these channels, getting brainwashed and spouting all this stuff. And I mean, how many more people like this do we need to see? How many more people like this are going to be out there with guns killing people because they've been brainwashed? And what's it going to take to have President Jackie Singh in charge of a program that goes after disinformation and does something about it? We need something because we're not doing anything. In fact, it seems to me like we're actively not doing anything about it. And as Jason Stanley, our guest from a few episodes ago, said at a recent lecture at Howard University, we got to stop acting like this stuff is new. All of this fits a pattern, which brings me, Jim and Hi-Fi, to my next point. I stayed up after coming out of my turkey coma last night to write my very first piece for what's going to be a new project, new edition of Byline Times, which is going to feature some fantastic reporting from America as well as other places. And I'm really, really excited because basically I have been studying Jason Stanley's How Fascism Works line for line. And I do a comparison on something that happened recently because I'm trying to get people out of the dark, A, not look at propagandists as clowns, and B, realize that their words fit a pattern. And there are various subjects and chapters and actions that those words then try to force policy-wise. And so that's how I spent Thanksgiving night. And I'm very excited because that will be running on Tuesday.
Word. We need more of that.
It's going to be all I'm doing. I'm already working on my next piece. And this is my point, folks. Those of you who have a job and can't speak truth to power because you don't want to lose your job, which I understand and respect, y'all got to start paying for news in little ways as much as you can. Byline Times, Substacks, support this show, support people like Zarina, support John Sweeney, whatever you can do, because it's going to really be an us versus them thing pretty quickly. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I got some things going on right now that I'll be talking about shortly.
Good. Do we have another Zarina clip?
Actually, I was just thinking that reminds me, I need to call Paul Champ again.
Yeah.
He's the attorney. Yeah, he's the attorney who's suing on the behalf of the people of Ottawa, the Freedom Convoy. And they're going through their emergency hearings right now. And Justin Trudeau did quite a good job, by the way. He stood for 5.5 hours, answered every question straight up.
Great.
Yeah, it was impressive. Sorry, I like to get into the multi.
Yeah, no, that's great. Do you remember when Elon Musk tweeted a Hitler meme of Justin Trudeau? Like, how was that guy allowed to buy the most, important
I know Joe is
news
going to make
aggregate
his move. I know Joe is going to make a move. I wish it would come sooner rather than later.
You think so?
Because that problem needs to be dealt with quickly. It's a radicalization engine. It's probably one of the biggest on the planet. There's Facebook. It's hard to tell, really, But
Facebook seems to be radicalizing older people's brains at this point. I'm sure globally it's
Facebook
different.
and Twitter, and they're feeding to Telegram, and
Twitter is going to dwarf all of that shit. I mean, at least in terms of influence, unfortunately.
Just so bad.
I mean, in 2016, when they first got started on Facebook, it was absolutely the worst radicalization engine I've ever seen, because no one had any idea what the hell they were looking at, right? Russia had practiced this shit on their own people
for
numerous times, so they knew exactly how it was going to work. But nobody here, or at least they either didn't know, or they were intentionally made not to know what the fuck was going on, which is why all these Bernie people started getting peeled off into fucking Pizzagate, and all the it was just a whirlwind, right? That happened on Facebook before anyone had any idea what was going on. And then they started getting sniffed around like Cambridge Analytica, and that whole thing started getting blown up.
Yep.
And that's when other platforms became more interesting, right? Because Facebook got so big that it became regulated, that Peter Thiel quit the board, and it's just slowly turning into 3D MySpace. Right, it's gonna have VR, and it's just, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Facebook is going to be that big. Is on the way down. Twitter, I think, is just going to turn into the world's largest 8chan.
Yeah, it's very, very terrifying.
Yeah, and it's
16
that would be one thing. It's the scale, right?
Yeah.
Like, Musk is validating the worst, most harmful propagandists on planet Earth, and he has 118.9 million followers.
Yeah.
Like, the scale of that is just wrong. It's like some sort of fucking cancer that we haven't taken care of, and is now just about to take us over. Right.
Yeah. So
I don't. He's going to keep pushing his luck. He has no limits. I mean, the more chaos and pain and horror, the better. That's what we're looking at here.
So I need to mention. I don't want to talk about Nick Fuentes, but I do want to say that
too late now.
It's very helpful. Because this is exactly how Trump stays in headlines, by pulling shit like this. But it's also very important.
No, it wasn't Trump, though. That's the interesting part about Nick Fuentes.
Well,
it wasn't Trump who did that.
Okay. My point is that Ruth took a look at that, and how Ron DeSantis has been trying to outflank Trump to the right. I think Trump is trying to outflank Ron DeSantis to the right, And Berlusconi did the exact same thing. He brought in the worst extremist, fascist, right-wingers, anti-Semitic, shit show type people and actually brought them into his, administration. So,
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure even Trump is stupid enough to intentionally invite Fuentes and Milo.
of course, I would say, of course he is.
I don't know. I think according to him.
Yeah, which you don't listen to. You say the opposite.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it does make sense actually that Kanye just sort of showed up with
No.
Fuentes.
It's all pre-scripted. Are you kidding? Everything about him's produced. There's no way. This is to grab headlines and to be more extreme than his competition. And because he's a gangster, he can do the plausible deniability thing.
Okay, he just looks pretty fucking stupid with that little incel showing up. Like,
well,
did anyone ever look into? Did anyone ever look into the nonprofit that Nick Fuentes set up with who was it? Michelle Malkin?
All I know is that Ianov.
Oh, we should probably do that.
These young guys have a template that was created in the Kremlin. The Charlie Kirks and the Nick Fuentes types. They have all these youth fascist groups that the Kremlin did. And I think I mentioned to you guys before that Ianov, who was recently indicted for running ops in America and funding far right and far left extremists to mess with all of our heads in America, he used to run the youth version of that type of organization for the Kremlin. So again, we have to stop acting like, oh, what's that? There's all these places that we can turn to, recent history and further back, that did the same thing. Nazi youth, for example.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure, it's all getting normalized, and who knows if the anti-Semitic, if Trump knew the entire anti-Semitic caucus was showing up to Mar-a-Lago or not. You're right. I mean, to a certain extent, it doesn't matter. And I posted a video today of Milo looking. I don't know what the hell was going on, but he was having some kind of, I don't know, seizure or something when he was talking to Kanye. I mean, these people are all fucked up, like genuinely, seriously psychologically broken human beings. And the idea that they're actually going to be somewhere near a presidential candidate, I don't know. I don't know that. I think there may be a limit on the ability of the American people to absorb that kind of straight neo-Nazi shit. We'll see. He's pushing the boundaries, and we'll see.
Well, yeah, he's going to have to, because like I said, his announcement was greeted like day old McDonald's, and with current company hi-fi exempt, most people don't like day old McDonald's. What do I do?
I didn't say I liked it. I just said I ate it.
Don't attack day old McDonald's, Heidi. Don't be elitist.
Just the cheeseburgers. All right.
I ain't being elitist. I'm just saying, ain't nobody trying to eat that. Okay. Yeah. So do we have another clip from Zarina or no?
We do.
Can I see it?
Hold on a second. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. This is when she's talking about like
gratitude.
No. She's talking about how crazy the Russians are and all that fun stuff. It's really good.
Again, called for Putin's execution, and Prigozhin has been running around like he's the big alpha dog right now. What do you make of that as somebody who understands, the Kremlin machinery?
Well, and other people might have other answers. I would expect them to have other answers. My answer, after lifetime of watching involuntarily the Kremlin game and 12 years of voluntarily researching what they do, my answer is that it's like commenting on a mental institution, like a mental ward. Like, why did this one call himself Napoleon, and why did this one has a feces obsession? I don't know, and I don't want to know, and it's irrelevant. This whole place is a lunatic
Asylum.
Asylum, and nobody should be really. I mean, on the one hand, they should be listened to, because they're pretty good at saying what they will do. They either gaslight and say, Ukraine did such and such, meaning they are about to do it, or they just say that they will do it, and then they do it. So that should be taken seriously, and that should be confronted and stopped. But other than that, some listening to their delirium, no, thank you very much. I have enough issues here. So.
Yeah, I mean, she's right. It's all fucking crazy, and it's hard to take any of it seriously, right?
Yeah.
And yet,
they said, they said Hitler was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And they said, some of these guys were clowns, and they were, horrible, genocidal, sociopaths.
Well, I mean, there's a certain part of that which is intentional, right?
Yeah.
You make yourself, QAnon was all goofy and wacky and stuff. Remember, it was just like this weird internet phenomenon that was happening in the dark places of the internet. And
it's just a game.
Aren't they kooky? It's the same shit. They make themselves funny and ridiculous and wear goofy outfits or whatever the fuck, and in the meantime they're actually planning on killing you.
The internet wants to kill you. That's all there is to it.
Well, increasingly that's no joke.
No, it's no joke.
I never meant it as a joke.
Since the last time we met, there's been, 2 mass shootings, and, I actually was out today. I had found like some old free Starbucks thing. Like, they must have done something bad a decade ago, and they gave me one of those coupons, like, oh, have a drink on us. Sorry, we screwed up. And I don't remember what the infraction was, but I was like, oh, I'm just going to go get a cup of coffee. Right. And they hadn't seen one of these coupons in so long, and they're just like, I don't know what this is, but yeah. Okay. What do you want? Right. But I looked around, and I'm in beautiful Southern California. And so I looked around at everybody there, because it was a very busy day, Black Friday. And it seemed to me like every culture was represented, because it's Los Angeles, and that's how we roll. We're very diverse. And I just was thinking how much courage people have just to be going out, among humanity right now, and trusting that wherever they are, they're not going to be dealing with psychopaths. And I know California is not immune to that at all. I get it. But I feel very, very grateful that I could look around and see this beautiful sea of diversity, and everybody smiling at ease, having a good time. And I was just, for a moment, just like, oh man, I wish that this could be how it is everywhere. And again, I think, at our core, that's probably why we do this show, because we know that this infection is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, what's really weird, especially weird, is there's some places where the entire place, like they're having their happy little get-togethers too. It's just all about all this lies and shit, right?
Yeah.
They're still living their lives. They're still hanging out with their kids. They're still,
Yeah.
watching TV, except now they're watching fucking Newsmax or whatever, right?
God,
And,
right.
reading their kids like Mike Flynn's children's book, instead of
Right.
putting them in front of Sesame Street or whatever.
Right.
It's not like the fundamental, humanness is gone. It's just their world, their brain has literally been mirrored to believe a whole bunch of things backwards.
Right. Right.
And it's I don't know what happened to Hi-Fi. That was alarming. Hopefully he's okay.
He'll be back.
But yeah, it's just a completely fractured, mirrored world. But I continue to believe that it doesn't look like the reservoir of people who are willing to get brainwashed into this thing is unlimited, right?
Thank God.
We seem to have reached at least some. There's at least some resistance at this level of brainwashedness in the country. I think that was reflected in the midterms, right? Like, there's just a sense of like, what the fuck?
Right.
There was just a collective kind of whole weight, which is sorely, I think, been missing. And it was good news. The bad news is that they're just doubling down so hard.
Yeah. Right.
It's not getting less scary, unfortunately.
Well, it has to get more and more and more extreme to keep them getting more radicalized, to
That's what I'm
drive them
talking
to
about.
violence, right?
That's what I'm talking about. And that's that whole addiction metaphor too, where they just have to keep cranking it up because people are getting used to it.
That's why what Elmo did with Twitter is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Because he gave them a whole brand new set of energy to work with, right? Like, we're at least segregated into these, shithole places, but
Right.
it's just like, just open the doors to the, whatever.
Don't you think that at some point, though, like these young men who may be radicalized and maybe they sort of digitally poisoned them to believe that they were victims and that things weren't going to be as good for them because of diversity and because of all the different, types of people that there are in this world. But don't you think at some point those guys, because I know this, they have brothers, they have sisters, and many of them will have gay family members, and many of them will have an uncle of color or whatever, that's somebody who's influenced them. Don't you think that there is a way that at one point they wake up and they're like, my family hates me? And I get that they have sort of like gang mentality, that these guys that they roll with become their family. But at some point, I'm guessing there must be like a way, just like with Dr. Stephen Hassan,
Sure.
actually, and like with Jason Van Tatenhove, where
Yeah, I was gonna say, look, we've got plenty of examples of this. It's not plenty of examples of
it's
people.
it's not irreversible, is the thing.
It's not irreversible. Look at what Germany. Like those there was a very, very serious program that went on, right? And we can talk about that a different time, but those people, a lot of them basically got into a cult and then got out of it, right? And the way they did it was very, very unforgiving. And we're not at that point because there hasn't been a Holocaust yet.
Right.
But that's what they want.
Right.
Make no mistake. That's what these people want.
Right.
And the genocidal shit that they say is not a joke. It's not a trolling. It's not propaganda. It's a plan. It's a fucking plan. And so, if we can stop it before we have to get to that point, that's better.
That's right.
And if it means we have to suck it up and be nice, a little bit nicer to people that we actually don't like at all because they're, cult member assholes, we might have to suck it up a little bit. That's at the end of the day, what, it comes down to.
Right. And we here at RadPod, episode 51, are going to be bringing you one of the most important, historic, iconic people in the world of human rights and protesting for 50 plus years for human rights. And I'm so excited because this show is just going to keep bringing the most important people from around the world to help us put a spotlight on and solve some of these problems. We're not here because we anticipate this being a forever thing. We're here because we want to fight this fight and help fix it. Hi-Fi, do you want the last word, bro?
Are you awake?
Gratitude that we're still here today.
There we go. Sorry.
What'd you say?
I have a lot of gratitude that we're still here fighting and that people are still listening. It sucks that, Elmo took Twitter, but we got Mastodon, we got TikTok, YouTube, we got a platform, we got Substack. We'll make it work.
We're going to fight the power right here,
yeah.
Right here and over there. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Thanksgiving weekend.
Peace.